Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today with the topic on Embark on Polar Adventure, apply for YPASM grant and ignite your Antarctic and Arctic exploration. For your information, YPASM will start the call for proposal 2025 on 1st November 2024 until 31st January 2025. This year, all applications will be made via an online platform, which will be officially launched on 1st November 2024. Applications only open for researchers from 11 institutions that currently participating under Smart Partnership Universities, namely Universiti Malaya, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Universiti Putra Malaysia, Universiti Malaysia Terengganu, Universiti Sains Malaysia, Universiti Malaysia Sabah, Universiti Malaysia Pahang and Sultan Abdullah, Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, IMU University, UiTM, and recently joined Uni10, Universiti Tenaga Nasional. If you are from other universities mentioned, you are welcome to be part of the project members. Therefore, at the end of October, we will have a briefing session on the call and application guidelines, including announcement of the 2025 theme, and then we will go through the system to familiarize. So please register yourself via the link provided in the chat box so that we can have your contact. Without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker for today, Prof. Dr. Clement Michael Wong Vuiling from Universiti Malaysia Sabah. He was the task force member of the Academy of Sciences of Malaysia Antarctic Research Program MARC since 2008. And then he is the current head of Biological Science Group at National Antarctic Research Centre, NARC. He has participated in various expeditions to the Arctic and Antarctic and was our research grant recipient for the year of 2016 and 2021. So I welcome Prof. Michael to share his slide. Thank you. We will have a question and answer session at the end of this webinar.
Okay, thank you, Intan. Can you see my slide and can you hear me?
Yes, Prof.
All right, great. So a very good morning, everybody and all the participants. I hope that more will be joining, especially young ones. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank YPASM for inviting me to give a talk with regards to the title shown here. All right, so just quickly go through a bit of background about my involvement in Antarctic research. And I think just now Intan has actually briefly introduced my involvement in the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. So first, I've made my first Antarctic expedition in 2004, which is 20 years ago, which is the first time I set foot on the Antarctic. And of course, before going to the Antarctic, there's a lot of things that I don't know. It's like what kind of research I can do there, and how long I can stay there, and how extreme are the environment. So during the first expeditions, I was looking at the biodiversity of bacteria from the tree marker oasis on the East Antarctic, which is the Indian station's Maitri. And the expedition actually for 3 months. So we stayed 3 months in the station Maitri. And also we have the opportunity to sail along the coastline from Sri Marker Oasis all the way to Davis Station. So it's quite an eye-opening during that expedition. Then after that, I joined another expedition 3 years later with the Instituto Antártico Chileno, which is the Chilean station. This time it's on the west of Antarctic, a warmer regions compared to the Sri Marker Oasis in the east. And subsequently, I joined the third expedition that is to around the South Shetland Islands, to go around the islands. And this time we are looking for bacteria that produce antibiotic and also those producing antibiotic enzymes. So this is a bit of background about my involvement in the Antarctic program. So for those who are new to this program or perhaps eager to join this program, I'll just give you a quick introduction about the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. So I think back in 1999, I think that's the first expedition by Malaysian scientists to the Antarctic. And after that, there's the establishment of the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. At that time, was housed under the Academy of Sciences. But later, there's a bit of change of structure where the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program is placed under the National Antarctic Research Center, which is jointly initially hosted by UST Malaya, and more recently is jointly hosted by UST Malaya or UST Malaysia Terengganu. And this center and all this program is currently placed under the Yayasan Pendidikan Antartika Sultan Mizan, and the big umbrella on top of that is the Kementerian Sumber Asli dan Kelestarian Alam. So that is a bit of the structure of the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. So internationally, we have a regional gathering. If we are a scientist in the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program, if you need to join any expeditions, of course, we need collaborations with various countries. So we have a regional gathering which is called the Asian Forum for Polar Sciences. Initially, it started with 6 members, but now has increased in terms of number of members. I think now probably we have around 9 to 10 members, and some are observers. And at the time when I was preparing my slides previously, Indonesia, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam was the observer for this gathering. And on the bigger picture is that in the world stage is that is the International Science Council, which is the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, or in short, we call it SCA. So these are the structure of the research in the Antarctic. And just briefly about the Asian Forum for Polar Sciences, or you call it in short AFOPS. AFOPS normally have at least 2 or 3 meetings per year, where all the members, the 6 countries plus a few new ones, will have a meeting. That is mainly to talk about logistics and talk about collaborations in terms of science, also sharing the current advancements and the future prospects. So what is discussed in this gathering is that it will be brought to the SCA Council later, the World Science Council, in case we want to initiate certain new projects which involve multinational. Yeah, so it will start from FOPS and then it will go to SCA. And these are the FOPS meeting back in 2002 in Kuala Lumpur. So this, you can see, these are the members from various countries meeting there. So the secretariat is rotated among the member countries, and currently I think Thailand is the secretariat, and every 2 years or 3 years, I'm not mistaken, is that it will be rotated. So previously Malaysia was the secretariat for the FOPS for a few years. Yeah. And the bigger committee, the world stage, is that the SCA that I mentioned to you. So SCA have a lot of program under the umbrella, which I'll talk a bit more about the horizon scan, which you might be able to interested to get involved. And if you scroll down their website, later you can find that there are geosciences, life sciences, physical sciences, social sciences, scientific programs. And the horizon scan is where all the contemporary research that is ongoing in the Antarctic, and perhaps some of them will be started in the future as well. That is where you can come in to propose your research aligned to the horizon scans to Yayasan Pendidikan Antartika Sultan Mizan. Okay, just for your information, is that Malaysia does not have a station in the Antarctic, so we rely on collaborations with various countries. And since the inceptions of the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program, we are lucky that we have been put under an umbrella of various countries. And most of the country is based on government-to-government initiative, whereby if you want to go to the Antarctic, you just have to report yourself to the National Antarctic Research Center or Yayasan Pendidikan Antartika Sultan Mizan. So they'll try to partner you with somebody who has a similar interest, the scientists in various countries. And some of the countries that we have worked for a long time is really the British Antarctic Survey, mainly on Sydney and Rotorua Islands. And there is also the Chilean that we have worked with for a long time as well at the South Shetland Islands. So if you look at it, this is the West Antarctic, and this is the East Antarctic. So the West Antarctic, if you look at the global warming trend, is that it's warming faster in this region. All right. So if you are looking at climates, perhaps you want to look at the West Antarctic as well as the East Antarctic. So in terms of biological sciences, is more vibrant in the South Shetland Island area because they are more exposed area, especially the maritime. During summertime, you're gonna see a lot of exposed land. And if you are collecting samples like soil sample or agar and things like this, is the regions that you should go to. But if you are looking into like geological sort of work, and limited biological, you can go to the East Antarctic. It's mainly covered with ice even during summer. But in certain regions like the Schumacher Oasis, there's a huge exposed area. It's called Schumacher Oasis. It's like the desert oasis where you have water. You see, so during summertime, the water will melt in Maitri. I'll show you some photos later. Then you see a lot of water and also rocks. So it's good for limited biological work and more on geological work. And on top of that, we had the Malaysia has been to the Scott base, especially Prof. Azizan's group and the Prof. Siti Aisha's group, and Casey station as well. So those are the areas that Malaysians have traditionally worked with and will continue to work with them. And back a few years ago, Malaysian's Antarctic Research Program has sent a group of scientists, which is 2006. Now, this one we did not, I don't think they have gone to any station, but rather they have hired a yacht, to travel from Argentina all the way, island hopping of all the South Shetland Islands. Meaning to say that if you don't have a collaborators, Malaysian can themselves initiate expedition to the Antarctic by renting their own boat, because the Malaysian is already under the a signatory of the ATS, which allow us eventually to build a station if we have the budget. Yeah. And on top of that, every 2 years we have presentations or meeting among Malaysian scientists, which is Malaysian under the a symposium called Malaysian International Seminar on Antarctica. And recently, 2004 in May, we just have our MISA 10. And during this program is very international. Normally, we have keynote speakers and various speakers from different countries who are experts in the area. So this will be a good platform in case you are a new scientist. You can always join and meet new people so that you probably can initiate some kind of research as well. And both physical sciences, atmospheric sciences, biological sciences, and to a certain extent, it will be including policy as well. On top of that, I mentioned just now, SCA have a lot of so-called programs under the biological sciences, like this one is Antico. And during the past MISA, we had online meeting with our counterpart from the British Antarctic Survey and also the UK. So these are the group of Malaysian Antarctic program members who are attending the workshop, you see. So you can see that there's quite a huge number of researchers, lecturers, as well as students that is involved in this program. So you could be one of them, and also your students can be one of them as well. So always people ask us, what's the benefit of conducting research in the Antarctic? Of course, you are always encouraged to do a lot of work in the tropics, but at the same time, if you're given the opportunity, then you can do some work in the Antarctic. So why should we do work in the Antarctic? So look at some of the benefits, for tropical countries especially, And of course, first of all, that you initiate a lot of international collaborations, and you can eligible to apply for funding even from the SCA, because we are a SCA member, and scientists can apply funding or travel grant from the SCA. Every year they have openings, all right? So that will widen our horizon in terms of research and also exchange of expertise and broaden our national scientific goals. And second thing is the hot topic, that is climate change and environmental monitoring. At the moment, if we are a tropical country, we can do a lot of monitoring, which is a very meaningful data. But sometimes a tropical country might want to compare with colder country. So And since Antarctic does not belong to any country, then it is a good place to look at the both extreme, very hot environment, especially in Malaysia, and also the very cold environment in the Antarctic, and to a certain extent the Arctic as well. And in terms of marine biology, it is really vibrant. The southern oceans is really a total different environments compared to the tropics. So if you're still looking at microalgae in Malaysia, you might want to compare those microalgae from the southern oceans or near to the Antarctic as well. So that will really broaden your scientific research scope beyond the border of Malaysia. And some of you might be looking at cold adaptations. Of course, if you want to look at the heat adaptation, you probably get a lot of bacteria from Malaysia or microalgae from Malaysia. Then you might want to look at some of the cold adaptations, and that will lead you to go to the Antarctic and collect samples and study the microbes as well. Our group is doing a lot on this area, which I will elaborate a bit more later. And of course, it will enhance our national scientific capacity. It means that our scientists are not only trained in working in the hot environment, now you can work in very, very cold environment as well. So it gives you a place where you can even Malaysian scientists, now we have Prof. Justin have winter over in the Antarctic. So in case we want to send people to the space as well, you can train them in the Antarctic, in a very extreme environment, so that they are very resilient to very different environments that you can survive in. Okay, so I'll talk a bit about more on the biological sciences, since I think 2 days ago, Prof. Azizan gave an overview about both biological sciences and physical sciences, and with more emphasis on the physical sciences side. So today I'm going to talk more about the biological sciences. So Malaysians actually are major in this few areas. That is the first group that is on bacteria, cyanobacteria, and all the other bacteria as well, fungus, microfungus, and yeast, microalgae. And then recently we have a group from UITM working on penguins. But what we are really lacking are people working on the lower plant, which is the Dyschamcia that is found in the West Antarctic, and the fish and krill. That is where we are lacking. So if you look at the grouping down here, these are all the names of the lecturers or researchers that is involved in the Antarctic program. You can see that the majority will be on the bacteria and the fungus side. Microalgae, yeah, it comes second, but on the penguin side, the larger animals, we only have Associate Professor Dr. Hyo from UITM. From the vascular plant, fish and krill, there's really nobody. So perhaps if you're interested, you can embark on that as well. So this is basically all under the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program. So do you have to do research only under the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program? And secondly, do you have to go to the Antarctic in order for you to start your research in Antarctic? The answer is not necessary. I'll just give you an example. Okay, just add on is that the information is that what are these people studying is the biodiversity, co-adaptation, bioactive compound, and more less the same on the microalgae and plankton side, that is on biodiversity, response to the environment change, response to UVA and B, all right? And the penguins is really on penguins decompositions. Nobody is from Malaysia is actually studying the penguins characteristic or the seal characteristic, behavior and things like that. Perhaps if you're interested, you can actually write in a proposal to the Yayasan Pendidikan Antartika Sultan Miza. Okay, next is that I mentioned that do you have to be under the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program, or do you really rely on the YPASM grant only? Not necessary, is it? I know that there's a group that is very active outside this program, which is led by Emeritus Professor Dr. Muhammad Noor Mahadi, which was from UKM, and now is Emeritus Professor. There's an active group that works on, especially on yeast from the Antarctic. And I think majority of the scientists have not been to the Antarctic, but they have managed to do a very active research and publish more than 50 papers only on this Gliciosoma antarctica, this Antarctic yeast, looking at various aspects. So in other words, you can not been to Antarctic and still carry out very effective Antarctic research on microbes from the Antarctic. Okay, so a bit about how I get involved in this Antarctic research program. I think back in 1999, when the Task Force, the Malaysian Antarctic Research Program, was established, there was a call for proposal. And I put in a proposal not knowing much about the Antarctic. So at that time, I do not know how to get to the Antarctic and how much money to get to the Antarctic. So I wrote in a proposal, and we are only given like 24 hours. So that night, read a lot of proposals. I mean, I read a lot of journals and come up with a proposal. And the first thing I question is that how much I need, money I need to get to the Antarctic. At the time, I put 2 million. So that is a bit like stuck from some way. So after that, submitting the proposal, I did not hear for 2 years already. Perhaps the budget I'm asking is too much, see. So, but then 2 years later, I received a call from, at the time, Academy of Sciences Malaysia, and they said that I can join the expedition in 3 months' time. So that is where I joined the first expedition, together with Prof. Baba, who is a geologist from UMS, and Dr. Leila, previously was a PhD student from University of Malaya. And Leela and me are working on the biological sciences, whereas Prof. Baba is working on the geological sciences. Then after that, I managed to get my first grant from the Academy of Sciences, and I continue my work. And then I will have looking in this area initially, and I tend to be interested in the West Antarctica, which is warming very, very fast. So at that time when we are working on the Schumacher oasis, we took a ship, just give you a feel how you get to the Antarctic is that you take a ship from Cape Town all the way to the Schumacher oasis. So it's not like smooth sailing like what you see here. There are areas in towards the Southern Ocean where there is a rough sea, all right? And this is the icebreaker that we took. It's a Russian icebreaker. And as you travel south, you start to see iceberg coming up. So in case if your research are involved in sea ice, then perhaps you can start your research with the sea journey. So just give you the idea, all right? And once in a while, you do see a strong wave like this, so that will be challenging. But if you are the scientist studying the oceans, then perhaps this is something wonderful for you. And the ice starts to change as you go south. You can see ice pancake. It's called ice pancake because it looks like pancake. Then you can see as you go even lower, means down south, that then you're gonna see a lot of packed ice like this one. And eventually you're gonna see all this sea ice floating with penguins and more ice, and a lot of icebergs starts to appear. And mind you, this icebergs are very, very huge, you see. And there's one time, there's a group of geologists actually landed the helicopter on top of the iceberg, just to collect some samples. And this just gives you a feel like how the sea looks like when you are traveling using a small boat. And if you are people who are intending to study the birds or the mammals in the sea, perhaps you can get a feel how it looks like in the Antarctic. So these are the thick ice just near to the shoreline of the Schumacher oasis, very thick ice. Now imagine all this brick ice break and falls into the sea, then it will increase the sea level. And the ship cannot reach the Antarctic continent, so we have to stop in the middle of the sea and then take a chopper to go to the stations. So we use a lot of chopper each time we travel, and we have to carry our research material together with us, and each time only 5 passengers is allowed per sortie, they call it, or per trip. And this is where we get to the Schumacher oasis. So I'll give you an overview. If you look at here, this small one is the station, you see. So around it, like I told you, a Schumacher oasis is full of how do I say, ponds or lakes, during summertime where the ice melted. So this is a place where you can find mosses, lichen, and microalgae. You're not going to see even the lowest plant, see. So there's no plant in this East Antarctic. And you can get more than 100 lakes, and collected samples of most of the lake, and done the biodiversity analysis and published a paper in Polar Science. And if you are the people who are working on lichen, mosses, and things like that, this is also a wonderful place for you, because during summer, you're going to see a lot of this. And the best thing is that you don't have night. You have 24 hours of daylight during summer. And the temperature will be quite mild, I would say. From December to January is -16 to -35, not too bad. So in other words, the West Antarctic, if you go to the West Antarctic side, the South Shetland Island, even winter, the winter there, the summer here is colder than the winter in the South Shetland Island. So imagine how cold in the Shimakai Oasis it is. So this is the Maitri station that is taken in 2005. You can see a lot of ice there, and if you go inside the station, it's actually very warm in there. It's just 23 degrees Celsius, just like the aircon room, because they use a lot of heater. So it's not too bad, no? Although Antarctic cold is outside, no? But if you go in the station, it's comfortable. All right. So this, yeah, all right. So a bit about my research area. I work on microbiome, all right? Focuses on the understanding of the microbes population in the Antarctic and the survival harsh environment and the potential exploitation. And we also look at the genetic makeup and gene response to the cold. And okay, so now it's mainly for you, is it? Like especially the new one who has not been to Antarctic or have not joined this program. Where should we begin? No? Just like me, when I begin, I also don't know where to start. No? There's nobody to guide me at the time. No? But of course, nowadays it's different. We have a lot of scientists who have been to the Antarctic who are ready to guide you. And there's also a one-stop center where you can call to YPASM to get information. Okay, the focus of today is really the Antarctic research funding. If you go to the YPASM website, now you're going to see the Smart Partnership Initiative, where there's a group of 10 participating universities, which they chip in money, and also Ministry of Science also chip in money, so that every year they can award certain amount of money per researcher per participating universities. Like say, if your university is not participating, like Intan mentioned, that you can be a core researcher and still participate actively in the research in the Antarctic. And perhaps eventually you become an independent and apply your own grant as well. So the call for proposal, like Intan mentioned, that there will be another briefing sometime this month. And after that, they probably in November, there will be opening for submission. All right. And last year, the deadline was 31st of December. Perhaps this year will be 31st of December 2024 as well. So that one, I think Intan can brief you on that. So you have three things. That one is a research grant. Research grants means that you're applying to conduct research, whether you physically be to the Antarctic or you just use the microbes of scientists that have collected the microbes. You can apply for this grant, and the maximum amount is 50,000 per year for up to 3 years, which is 150,000. All right. And then if you are a student, especially postgraduate students, you're eligible to apply the YPASM's fellowship schemes. Or if you're a young researcher just graduated with a PhD, you're also eligible for that. So this allows you to go to another member country which has Antarctic program, to learn from them and to collaborate. Okay. And the third one is the birth support. Say like you already got a grant for research, regardless of whether from YPASM or not, but if you want to go to Antarctic to collect samples, you can either join the British Antarctic Survey program, that is to bring you to the Antarctic, either Sydney or Rotorua. They have a few stations in the Antarctic. Then you can apply for this grant, and that will allow you to go to the Antarctic and collect some samples. The timing depends on the arrangement with the British Antarctic Survey. But it's not limited to that. If you say like you manage to get a collaborator in Korea, that willing to allow you to go to your stations, then you can apply for this the B scheme, which is the birth support to Antarctic through any SCAR member country. All right, so you have a few options there. Okay, so about the grant, what are the criteria you need to have to apply for a grant? I mean, just like any other grants, it's very standard format. You have your executive summary, then you have your introduction, problem statement, objective, materials, and method, and so on. So that one I will not go into details. You can read the guidelines, but I will highlight some of the criteria and also the mistakes that people made, and that's why they failed to get the YPASM grant. All right. The first very important is to have an international collaborator in your grant applications. Of course, they must play an active role in that particular project. So if you want to apply for a grant this year end, you should start contacting either YPASMs or also NRCs to get your collaborator, and then probably can arrange. Of course, you have to start by giving them a proposal so that they know what area you're working on. to look for a suitable collaborator with you. So if you submit a proposal for the YPASM grant without a collaborator, that would be a technical knockout. I think that they might not even process it because you don't have this collaborator. Okay, the more important thing is that when you do a research, you have to fit into the bigger picture of international research, no? And those are mainly listed under the SCAR website, under Horizon Scan, which I'll give you more details after this. No? So for those who are new, then SCAR stands for Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research. Okay, after talking about the research proposal, like I say, I think all of you have written a proposal before. No? There are some of the common grounds for a proposal to be rejected, all right? Of course, one is that the title, research problem, and the objective are not aligned. No? Say the title is talking you're working on proteins, but the research problem is talking on something else, no? Which is the biodiversity problem. And then the all the materials or method are not aligned to the topic. So regardless of FRGS, YPASM grant or any other grants, all the title, research problem, objective has to be aligned. Yeah, together with all the materials and method for you to achieve the objective must be aligned. And the second thing is really lack of original ideas. Now, lack of original ideas means that you are repeating what other people have done. So it has to be some original ideas and something that is different, where to fill the knowledge gap that is lacking at the moment. And sometimes having too many ideas also can be a problem, where then you have a very broad research, unfocused research plans. So you can have original ideas, but you have to focus, all right? Sometimes there are proposals which I see that you work on bacteria, then you also work on fungus in the same proposal. Try to focus on one, that will give you an advantage, all right? And the next thing is really, some of the proposal that we see is that it lacks new, how do I say, information. It means that they are doing something that is already been done by other people, all right? Other people already published that. Or in the literature review or introduction, they are quoting papers that is already very, very old. So just like FRGS or any other grants, YPASM also expect you to quote the more recent paper, at least the last 5 years. Of course, you can quote some very old paper, but there should be more on the papers published in the last 5 years. Better still in the last 2 years, right? And after that is that you should tell the how do I say the funder, what is the future directions of this project? Of course, you are doing, for instance, a monitoring of climate change, all right? Of course, climate change is not about 1 or 2 years. You're saying that you're doing a 30 years monitoring, for instance, all right? So we are starting with 3 years first. Then after that, in the future, you're gonna get with all your how do I say collaborators and things like that for the next 10 years or so. So then they give you a bigger picture about how climate change affect the tropics, for instance. So then people will think that this is worth studying, because a lot of data that is long-term monitoring are really that is lacking in many countries. All right. So if you can do that, that would be good. And sometimes it's really the approach, the questionable research approach. Your introduction problem statement might be good, but then the approach that you use, that in terms of materials and method, might not be the correct one. So those are the things that you have to look at. I think the best thing is to read a lot of journal papers to get the idea how to write research approach correctly. And also sometimes the proposal is that the introduction is very, very short. The materials and method luggage short, is most of the time quoting refer to this paper. Although you can refer to paper, especially in the materials and method, it's good to give in the key details of how you're going to apply using the methods to achieve your objective. All right. And one common error that in the proposal is that you put in the materials and method, and then you have your budget. Then in the budget, say for instance, you are doing, you're gonna buy some chemicals to analyze DNA sequence. But in your materials and method, you actually have not mentioned you're going to do sequencing. So those are quite obvious. It means that probably the budget is plucked from some other proposals. So always align your budget to your materials and method. Make sure that if you ask for a DNA extraction kit, make sure in your materials and method you have the DNA extraction materials and method mentioned. All right. So those are some of the common mistakes, not limited to YPASM grant, but also many other grants. For your information, I'm also at the FRGS panel member at KPT for a few years, all right? And also the National Geographic Grants internationally, and the INACH research proposal. I've also evaluated some of the proposal from INACH as well. So those are the common mistakes that the researcher make. Okay, so now is that what kind of research that I can embark on if I'm a newcomer, for instance? No? So what are the contemporary research area in the Antarctic? So this is where the horizon scans come in, all right? The horizon scan is under the SCAR, you know. How they get the ideas is that they pull all the experts around the world, sit together and come out to say the next 10 years or 15 years or 30 years, what are the kind of critical problem that we're trying to solve, you know, and in mostly to talk about global warming and things like that. So this is where they listed 80 topics. All right. Under the if you look at down here, you can go to the SCAR website, you know, and there are 80 most important scientific questions as identified by SCAN. All right, so I'll just talk about those related to biological sciences. And this Horizon Scans was established by the International Steering Committee, but the Steering Committee also get ideas from all the member country, you know, to see what are the critical areas that we need to resolve. Okay, these are some of the main scan, you know, and you have the contact person down here if you want to get more information. So I propose that you go to the SCAR website to get more information. But I'll share with you some of the topics which is related to us. You know, that is, if you look at 1 to 11, that is really about Antarctic atmosphere and global connection. Means that how the Antarctic atmosphere can affect the other regions around the world. So if you look at the first topic is how climate change and variability in the high south latitude connect to the lower altitude, including the tropical oceans and monsoon system. So if you're a climate scientist in Malaysia, perhaps you're interested in topic number 1. So then when you write your proposal, you say that your proposal is answering Horizon Scan project under number 1, for instance. Then that you give us to say that you are actually looking science from the international perspective rather than just your own interest. All right, so that is very important. So these are all the topics of the atmospheric sciences. We go down, you have southern ocean, sea ice, warming world, and things like that. Let's go to the life sciences. No? So the life sciences is that question number 43 is that what is the genomic basis of adaptation in Antarctic and southern ocean organisms? Basically, it asks you like how, say, for instance, a bacteria, a plankton adapt to the cold in the Antarctic. It's more like fundamental research, try to understand what is going on inside the cell when they are exposed to very cold environment, right? So I myself, I do research on this area. We are comparing that if you expose them to very warm temperature and then suddenly expose them to freezing temperature. So what are the genes that is activated or downregulated? And of course, if you look at, there are many other topics as well, no, that allows you to look at various areas in microbes. Right? For instance, 49, how will the thresholds of transitions vary over different spatial and temporal scale, and how will they impact the ecosystem functioning under the environment conditions? Means that you're looking at how microbes react to the environmental change. You know? You can compare that what happens in the Antarctic and what happens in the tropics. To make it more interesting, perhaps you can get some Antarctic microbes and expose them to tropical climate and see how they react, and vice versa, putting some of the tropical microbes in the Antarctic and see how they react. So I really encourage you to look at all the 80 questions that is listed and under Horizon Scan, under the SCAR, to see which one best fit your interest and you might want to participate. All right. So if you are working on these topics, then that is highly aligned to the YPASM's aspiration as well. So no, without taking too much time, perhaps I will take some questions later. Is that no? I will just summarize my talk today. Is that no? If you want to participate to be an Antarctic scientist or polar scientist, you can go to the Arctic as well. I think YPASM also fund that, no? And you should start by writing a letter or email of intent to NARC first, expressing your intention. And if you don't have a collaborator yet, perhaps you all can include that you are looking for a collaborator then YPASM or NRC will try to link you with the scientists of the same interest in other country, or at least convey your message to the head of the regional country chairperson, so that they can ask their scientists to look whether they're interested in the similar project. All right. So find a collaborator, like I say, before you even submit your especially the grant, you need a collaborator. But if you're going for expedition, you need a confirmation letter to say that the host country willing to host you also before you submit your application. All right. So, and after that, after doing this initial, like getting a collaborator and submitting your letter of intent, then you write a comprehensive proposal to secure funding. YPASM have the form ready that which you can download. No? If you need more information, you can contact either Dr. Amanda or Intan to get more information. And then you have to decide whether you're going to work in the Antarctic in the field or you're going to work remotely. Like I say, if you interested to work in Antarctic microbes, you don't necessarily have to go to the Antarctic. All right, you can either buy it from the American Type Culture Collection Center or various collection center, or you can talk to the scientist that is already working in the Antarctic. And a lot of Antarctic scientists from under the program is initially a master or PhD students. Now they are lecturers. They are actually continuing the work. So the community of Antarctic in Malaysia is expanding. So I also encourage you who are non-native, are not doing a PhD or master in the Antarctic program, to join this program as well. So join the Polar Research Community, which is a very, how do I say, close and happy grouping. Every 2 years, if we meet in the Malaysian International Antarctic Seminar, MISA, then we have a lot to talk about, to share experience and things like that. So, of course, applications for research grant is not always successful, but the success, you have to fail a few times before you can succeed. So that is where you should try. I have my fair share of failed applications to various grants as well, but keep on trying and one day you will get your grant. So I think with that, I'll just end there, just to quote, to say that Antarctic is basically not belongs to anybody, but it's actually a natural environment devoted to peace and science research. So with that, I thank you for your attention. All right, back to you, Intan. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Michael, for your very informative presentation. Just like what Prof mentioned before, you can write to us if you have if you intended to apply for our grant, and if you need help with in finding your own international collaborator, you can always refer to us or NRC. Even Prof Michael is the head of biological group, NRC, right? So everyone in YPASM and NRC more than happy to help you guys. And for your information, on 26th until 30th October, YPSM, some representative from YPSM and NRC is going for Asian Forum on Polar Sciences efforts in Shanghai. It is one of the avenue to find your collaborators. So to write to us before 25th October, so that we can help to look for your collaborator during the forum. If you have any question, you can just go unmute yourself and ask Prof. Michael directly. Any question?
So, Intan, I don't want to ask. Yeah.
Any question for Prof. Michael?
When is the opening for this year's grant?
1st November, Prof.
1st November. So
Yeah.
the deadline is
31st
December.
January.
31st January.
Yes.
Okay. So there's still time to look for.
I think we have a
collaborators,
question from Dr. Rahan. He raised his hand. Dr. Rahan.
Oh, okay. So perhaps allow the participant to unmute. I think yeah.
I already allow.
Okay, thank you. Intan. Sebab tadi bila
dah.
unmute tak boleh.
Yeah.
Tak allow untuk unmute also. Okay, thank you, Prof. Michael. Just question, maybe general question, related to the proposal. Maybe you want to share what are the common, maybe it's not mistake, but maybe a common over ambitious proposal that you've seen for Antarctic research. That because Antarctic research is quite student.
So basically, we have seen proposals that you are looking. I mean, give an example lah. Like it's called adaptations. You are looking at a few organisms, you see, rather than focusing on one. See. So of course, it's good like giving 150,000 that you can achieve all three, but is it really a practical one? Like I say, this is not limited to YPASM grants. Even the FRGS, we can see similar things that you're trying to solve too many things within the short period of 3 years now, and which people think that is not possible. But I'm not saying that people cannot achieve that, no? But sometimes there are some really wonderful researchers, they can actually achieve a lot. But in general, the view of the reviewer is that now when you have too many things crammed into one research proposal, the likeliness is to achieve that is not possible, unless you can show in your past research that you said within 3 years you can achieve, like from one research you can achieve many objectives. If you have a good track record, we will look into that as well. For instance, if normally when we look at the proposal, we also look at your CV in terms of publication. But if you are publishing like 30 papers a year and things like that, then we have no doubt you probably can achieve that. You see. But if people that hardly publish any paper in the last 3 years and yet a very ambitious proposal, then that just doesn't seem to be able to, I mean, the research group will not be able to achieve that. So we look at both. First is that, is it over ambitious? Yes, then we look at the track record. If your track record is good, yeah.
Any other question? Dr. Amanda?
You unmute yourself first.
Dr. Amanda, you want to add some advice maybe, especially regarding the annual theme?
Yeah, I think Dr. Rohan can continue. Yeah. Are you able to unmute yourself, Dr. Rohan? Cannot. I think you should be able to, because I think it's already unmuted. Intan, can you look at it? I think we already unmuted now. It means allow all the participants to speak up. One moment. Allow participants to unmute themselves. Okay, try.
Okay, now it works. I'm not sure whether it's just me or everyone else also cannot unmute themselves. But just thank you, Prof, for the answer just now. And one more question, based on your experience, which for a start, for anyone who hasn't got any collaboration for the Antarctic research, and based on your experience, that you think is the easiest that we can ask to collaborate, that not normally looking for collaborators, international collaborators?
All right. I won't say the easiest. I think it still go back to your research interest, no? Whether you can fit in. Like for instance, you apply to COPRI, then if you submit your proposal, they happens to have a researcher who are interested in the same thing. Then that will immediately pay you up, and then they will likely to fund you. Same with Chile, But if you send a proposal that does not fit into their national program, or does not have the interest of their researcher, then it will be more difficult. In terms of how easy, how difficult, I think from experience, going to the South Shetland area, all these country seems to be like helpful, especially the Chileans, the Equatorian, they are quite happy to receive us as well. It's just that we seldom interact with the Argentinian, the Uruguayan. They have station there as well. I think partly is because like pairing up is difficult. I remember back a few years where we have the SCA Open Science Conference in KL. We have a meeting with the Argentinian, and after that, during the discussion, it was very positive from both sides. And then after that, there was a submission of how do I say, intent, proposal intent. But after that, it just quiet down. Perhaps they receive our intense proposal, the 1 page or so, but perhaps they cannot find a suitable collaborators on the other side. That's why it did not move on. So it is quite a challenging, you see. So as a young scientist, perhaps what we can do is to search for projects that is already conducted by, it's been published recently. Look at who are the people, say, for instance, from COPRI, you're working on plankton. Search them, the paper, and if they are interested, then you can write to them first before even contacting COPRI to see whether they have a similar interest. Then that's one way to work. And like I say, if you look at the trend of the traditional collaborators with us, it's really the Australians, the New Zealand, when we started the program. And eventually it moved to BUS, and the BUS is a very long-term research. And then we also have research with INASH. I have research for the past about 18 years now. But the scope we are working is really on antibiotics and biodiversity. Those are the two. I'm not sure whether they're working beyond that. I think Siti Alima from UPM also working with a group from not INASH, but Chile for quite some time already. So it's really about your interest. Yeah. So if your interest is wider, then you're interested in work on bacteria, fungus, and then perhaps you can put in 3 intent to YPASM so that they can send it out and to pair you up with somebody in COPRI or some way. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Welcome.
I think Anna raised her hand just now.
Anna?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Anna.
Just a short recap of what Prof. Michael and Dr. Raham are discussing about. So I think, it's a good idea that for applicants, right, for them to be a proactive, like do a little bit more background research on the interest of the subject they wanted to take on, and then if they wanted to get an international collaborator, just make sure that you go look into their national priorities, because I think most countries they develop and their priorities keep changing yearly, or maybe some is like they have 5 years plan. So your interest probably aligned with them 5 years ago, and probably they are changing the new term where they're no longer doing that research. So the best is like look into the background of the researcher that you wanted to do work with, and then at the same time, look what they are supporting on. So for example, like, BUS has a big broad subject matters that they are actually supporting on. But at the same time, they have a limitation on their financial part. So although on your side, like you have the funding, but on your collaborator side, this have to be take consideration too.
Yeah. Totally agree. Sometimes it's the timing also, like both sides have to get the grant at the same time. For instance, like we are interested in the project. I work with a collaborator in Chile, and we both applied for national grant. I got it, he did not get it, or vice versa. He got it and I did not get it. So that becomes a hurdles that we are. So if you're lucky that both sides get the money, then things will move on easily. So the timing is also important. So from my personal experience is that first is that especially the Chileans, how we got involved is that back in 2007, I went for a conference together with Dr. Azizan and Prof. Pang Silmo and Dr. Prof. Siti Aisha. And at the time, we were invited by the INACH to go to their institute. And then they say that asked us to join another conference, which is in Conception, where they try to pay us up. So in that Conception, we had a discussion with the various groups. So I think only one group managed to get secure the collaborations. And once the collaboration is established, they allow us to go for the expedition almost the next 6 months in the Antarctic. Yeah. So it's a hit and miss. Have to keep trying. And recently, I think in the recent MISA, I also met with the Chinese. They seems to be interested to host some Malaysian. It's just the expedition is a bit long. You have to go down south for 3 months and then coming back. And the Japanese one is also a very long one. It's like, again, a 3-month thing. Students perhaps can go for that length of time. And I think the Indian is also like a 3-month thing. Dr. Rahul also mentioned that Malaysian can join so long as the proposal goes through the national, means the YPASM or NARC. So they will likely to host you. Yeah.
May I add a few more words on that?
Yes, Anna, please.
It's just based on my experience checking out and advising some people on their planning for expedition. I think it is true that when we do planning for expedition, right, it will take long. So just make sure when you submit your application, you check through like what's the next step. If you would, will it be possible for you to join on your first year? Or is it possible for you to join on the second year? So how will it affect your proposal? And also on the budgeting part, as Prof. Michael said, that some program will, the duration for your expedition will be longer than the others. So you have to put in more budget on it, possible on that. So it is based on your aim of the project and how the duration works for that also.
Yeah. I mean, in relation to this, perhaps I have a questions for YPASM as well. For instance, I applied for a berth, traveling to the Antarctic. Sometimes, a national program is that at last minute they say that there's no more space, is it? So can we transfer that to a subsequent year? I mean, that grant.
Sorry, Prof. Michael, can you repeat one more time?
For instance, I mean, if a researcher applied for a berth to travel, like for Chantola with Equatorian, for that year, and he has been promised a place, is it? But this thing can change at last minute. It has happened before. Is that suddenly when you're ready to go, they say that there's not enough berth or there's a shortage of space. So perhaps they transfer you to the subsequent year, means that next year. So can the YPASM grant be like use the subsequent year? It's approved this year for this year's expedition, but it did not materialize. Can that be kept until a subsequent year?
Yeah, by right can, because that's something unavoidable, right?
Yeah.
But normally, I think we never experienced that before, especially if you're applying for the bus, they have a very proper schedule, so most likely you'll be going in the same year.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Intan, can I ask something about the proposal? Okay, let's say for example, like a researcher wanted to apply, right? Is it wise for them? Let's say the project itself involves expedition. It's a big expedition. Is it wise for them to just apply for a berth? support, or is it okay for them to apply for like a research grant proposal, but in there is incurred for expedition too?
Dua-dua pun okay, but it depends. Bersupport can only cover for your travelling kan.
That's why, yeah.
Tengok, is it sufficient?
Okay.
So
which means like if let's say they have other funding to support their research project, like work everything, then if they don't need a necessary expenses, then they can just focus on birth support application lah.
Yep.
And then if let's say they wanted to get a big project to support everything, then probably the main research proposal will be more advisable for them.
But this one yang to cover your travelling is only for bersupport yang SCAR tau. If you're applying for bersupport bus, we only pay for the fee, bench fee for you to get to bus station. But you need your own or other funding to fund your travel. Dia terbalik. Kalau bus, you need other funding to fund your travel because we are paying for the fee. Kita pay just to share. Starting next year, next expedition, the cost untuk bersupport fee that we paid to bus has been increased to up to £55,000 per researcher, which previously just cost almost half of it. About 20, the latest fee about 28,000 pounds per researcher. That one we paid directly to bus. For them to host your expedition kan in their station, but you need other separate funding to fund for your travel and accommodation for you to go to their station. If you're applying for, kalau macam yang Ana that you mentioned before, you already have your project, you need travelling assistance kan, you can apply for bersupport SCAR tu. We have two category kan. Yang bersupport SCAR, you can use to fund your travel.
Okay.
Can I add on this Intan Jabareng di sini?
Yeah, sure.
Last year kan, so okay. So sebenarnya for bus support like Intan said, so basically what is covered by YPASM adalah when they talk about bus support, it's actually a trip from basically it's either Falkland Islands ataupun Punta Arenas in Argentina, in Chile, and that goes to the station in Antarctic and discuss Sydney, Intan. Is Sydney the only one now? Sydney.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. To Sydney and coming back. So that means from Punta Arenas of Falkland Islands to Sydney and coming back, everything including makan, transportation, everything basically you punya including your sabun, your apa panggil your clothing, no your clothing tak, your sabun semua ataupun you punya makanan semua covered. But what is not covered, the first thing is your clothing. Your clothing ada lagi rent. You have to rent from bus. That I think about beberapa ribu juga. I think 3,000 lebih kurang. That is not covered. You basically need to rent from them because they don't really bagus lah. Actually bagus, cheaper than buying juga. Sebab they're very stoken apa semua, stoken baju sejuk semua. It's gonna be this rent about 2-3 ribu lebih kurang. Better you rent lah sebab boot apa semua dia gonna give you and bag semua so basically your clothing will be covered, all of it sampai botol water semua will be covered, tapi you have to rent, so this is additional cost you need, the first one. Second one, bulan 9 akan ada training and then you have to go to Cambridge for this, you also have to cover this. The third one adalah personal safety training untuk jadi seafarers and ada yuran, and this one you also have to cover. And the third one adalah trip from Malaysia to the UK untuk join bus punya team. Return that you have to cover. Lepas itu daripada UK kepada either Falkland Islands ataupun Chile, that you have to cover juga. And my suggestion is kalau UK ada bus akan normally suggest you to follow them sebab pakai military punya airlines cheaper tau. Kalau pergi Falkland Islands, it's better for you to go with them, don't go yourself. And normally they don't allow. Basically, we met at Cambridge and together we went south. So that's another thing that we need to cover. Yang lagi, your penginapan masa you dekat London, you need to cover by yourself, ataupun UK while waiting for the trip south that you have to cover. Dan you punya penginapan juga dekat kalau ada dekat Chile ataupun dekat Falkland Islands, sebelum you masuk kapal, that you have to cover yourself. The moment you masuk kapal bus, then you're gonna be covered. Tapi sebelum, contohnya kalau sehari kita sampaikan, they're gonna put us in a hotel while waiting for the ship, that we have to cover. Actually, at least kan, I would say, because last year I've got 40,000 from USM, tak cukup tahu. I think handsomely if you apa tu, actually cukup. For me 40,000 last year cukup. Tetapi because I took my sample daripada dan simpan dekat Cambridge, so you kena ambil lagi samples, because your sample kalau you ambil it will go with bus punya kapal balik ke Cambridge. Sebab you tak boleh ada masalah quarantine lah apalah, you will go back to Cambridge and then you kena collect your sample lagi. So yang ini kena budget lain lagi. So I would say for the whole trip you need at least to play safe about 46k additional money. Mesti you ada. Daripada sumber lain, on top of the vet support. I don't know kalau that makes sense. So about kalau tak ada dalam 46k, I rasa susah sebab nak cost training, baju, this is out of the chemicals lah, bukan chemical, bukan apa. This is just baju, transportation, semua. Sebab bila you balik lagi dekat London, nanti you stay lagi, so hotel kena bayar lagi. And you basically kena pergi London 2 kali. First time untuk training di Cambridge, untuk pre-deployment training they call it. And then masa you nak pergi, so ada 2 trips you need. Yang ini kena ada lain punya funding. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I think thanks Mr. Japaring for sharing. I think YPASM should think of widen the countries that you should follow, and because many countries that previously Malaysian scientists follow is that the cost is really minimal. They don't charge a bench fee. They don't charge. Basically, everything is provided. You know, the clothing's up to food and everything is provided. But it depends on countries lah. So I suggest that YPASM to work with more countries, you know, so that especially the Equatorians, the Latin Americans, they are very helpful in that sense. And to a certain extent, perhaps, you know, establish closer ties with the FOPS country, because they are willing to host us, but unfortunately, there are actually not many of us joining their expedition. Japan, China, Korean, to a certain extent, they probably have more people, more Malaysians joining them. India also, we have not sent people for a long time. You know. Yeah. So can consider those, because India also they cover most of the costs. Just the flight ticket to Cape Town, that is borne by Malaysians and the hotel. Once like Japan, once you're on board the ships to the station and things, it's all covered. Yeah, that is for Indian, my previous experience. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think maybe that's it.
Any other question? Maybe the last one?
Sebenarnya ada soalan untuk Intan, boleh tak?
Ya, silakan.
But support untuk ke UK tahun ni buka sama tarikh tak dengan Gran? Ataupun awal lagi?
Actually, bus tengah finalize. Because every year they will announce the planning schedules kan. We still haven't get from bus yet. By end of this month sepatutnya. So we will announce together dengan during our briefing at the end of this month. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. If there is no more other question, maybe we can end our webinar session today here. Recording of this session will be uploaded to YPASM YouTube channel. If you need to rewatch and refer to Prof. Michael's slide. Thank you so much. We'll have another session tomorrow featuring Dr. Akmal Ramli from UMK. He will be sharing his platform that he developed through our grant that we awarded last year. That is called Polar Bites. So please join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you so much and see you again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Prof.
you.
Michael.
Thank you, Prof.
Bye.
Michael. Thank you, Intan.
Bye bye.